to my channel. Today we are in my kitchen, as you can see, and that is because we are making memelitas. It is a super simple and delicious recipe, and it takes no more than 30 minutes to make overall, so I think you are really gonna like it if you are into Mexican food like tacos and enchiladas. But before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up if you end up liking it. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the recipe. So for this recipe, we're gonna need to learn two things, and that is how to make the base of the memelita, which is the dough, and how to make the hot sauce for it. So we're gonna be making a salsa verde, or green hot sauce, and I'm gonna show you what you need. 3 to 4 green tomatillos like these. You're gonna need a garlic clove, a very small one. You don't need a big one, it's just for flavor. You're gonna need a small chunk of onion like this, and depending on how hot you like your hot sauce, you're gonna need 1 to 2 serrano peppers. I have 1 here because I'm only using 3 tomatillos, so that should be hot enough. You're also going to need some cilantro. This is about a small handful of cilantro, and you're gonna want to leave everything, like the leaves and the other part as well, and a little bit of salt. So that's like to taste. We don't really have a measurement for that, but I would say definitely start with about half a teaspoon of salt for your hot sauce and then go from there to taste it. So that's for the hot sauce. For the actual dough, we're going to need about a cup of, and this is the brand we use, it's called instant corn masa flour. You can find this at, I'm pretty sure, any grocery store, but definitely at any Mexican store if you know of one nearby. You're also going to need about a cup and a fourth, or a cup and an eighth of warm water. And that's for the dough. And then for toppings, you're going to want to have, obviously your green sauce is going to be one of the toppings, but we're also going to want to have some sort of cheese. So I have queso fresco here, and this, again, you can just use whatever you have. It could be mozzarella cheese, it could be any type of cheese that melts. You're also, if you're a big fan of onion like I am, you're gonna add some chopped onion, and to top it at the end, you're gonna want some sour cream, whatever sour cream you have. But that's basically it. It really is kind of like an enchilada, or I mean, a lot of traditional Mexican food includes having dough, some sort of like cheese, some hot sauce, some sour cream, and so some veggies on top. So this is pretty much very similar to that. So without further ado, let's get cooking. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is to start boiling some water. So I have in this small pot about halfway, I have it halfway filled with water, and this is just to cook all the tomatillos and the stuff for your hot sauce. So we're just gonna wait for it to boil, and while that happens, we're gonna get started with our dough. You're gonna wanna make sure that your hands are very clean for this, because you are going to use your hands as tools. So for the dough, you're gonna need a container like this, and we're gonna go ahead and pour all of the flour into the container. Then with your clean hands, you're gonna roll up your sleeves, and then you're gonna be pouring about half of the warm water that you have for the dough. And then you're just gonna start mixing. So you want to mix until you have the consistency of Play-Doh almost. So this is just hydrating the flour, and whenever you feel like it just needs more water already, then just continue to add more water as needed. You're probably gonna use the full thing anyway, so just keep going. Alright, so after mixing for about 3 to 4 minutes, this is the consistency that we want. It's not too loose, it's not too hard where it feels like it needs more hydration. It's perfectly like Play-Doh. So that's what we want to get to, and now that we are ready with our dough, let's just go back and finish preparing our hot sauce. So now what we want to do is carefully use something to lift the cover of the pan and pour our serrano pepper into the boiling water, our piece of onion, and our garlic. We want to make sure that those things start cooking first because our tomatillos really only take 2 to 3 minutes to cook, and we don't want them to overcook. So that's what we're gonna start with, and we're just gonna wait until that is ready. So after about 5 minutes of the serrano and everything else that we poured in here has been cooking, then we're gonna wanna add our tomatillos. So carefully add them to your boiling water, and it would only take about 3 minutes to finish up. So that's the last step that we'll need for our hot sauce as far as cooking the ingredients. All right, so let's check on our tomatillos. It's been about 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. And carefully, again, do this so that you don't get burned. They should be looking not as green as before, but also they shouldn't pop in the water, because then that could make your hot sauce a little bit bitter. So it's perfect right now. We're gonna turn off the heat, and we are going to wait a little bit so that it can cool off, so that we can put it in our blender and then finish making our hot sauce. So now that we've let it cool off a little bit, we're gonna grab our blender cup, and we're gonna just put everything in here with except the water. So we're just gonna put the tomatillos, the onion, the serrano. Don't forget about the garlic, because it's quite small, so you might not even see it. And then you just want to pour a little bit of the water, like just about a spoon like this. Now we're also going to want to add our cilantro, which, by the way, you should have washed ahead of time. And our salt. So for salt, again, start with about half a teaspoon of salt, and then go from there. So it's about half. And we're just going to blend it. Alright, so now that our hot sauce is blended, let's take it out of the blender and put it into a container. And then you're gonna wanna taste to see if it needs a little bit more salt. So be careful, because it may still be a little bit warm. And so I have a spoon right here, and I like to taste on the back of my hand. Again, if it's hot, just don't do this part, but you can just do it off the spoon. I just like to put it here and try it. And it's perfect. It does not need more salt. It is a bit spicy, but I do like my spicy food, so this is perfect, and we're done with this part. Now it's time to cook the dough. All right, so now what we need for our tortilla making is a pot like this, or a pan to use to cook the tortillas. We're going to need either a tortilla maker or something with a flat surface like this to make sure we can press on the dough to make the tortilla shape. And we're also going to need like a plastic barrier so that the dough doesn't stick to the surface, whatever you're using, whether it's the pot or the tortilla maker. This is a Ziploc bag that I've just cut the edges of from the bag, and this is what I'm left with, and that's really all we need. So let's now start making our tortillas. All right, so the first thing before we move on is you want to make sure that you turn on your stove from like medium heat, low to medium, but closer to medium heat, and that's so that our pan can get warm while we create our tortillas. So while that's happening, we are going to grab, I would say, a piece like this of dough. So it could be really small, I mean, I don't know, 3 inches big, and just start to make a little ball with your hands. Now you're gonna grab the plastic barrier that we said we would use, and you're gonna place it in between the tortilla maker. You're gonna grab your little ball, which you can kind of slightly tap to help it a little bit so it can start flattening out a little bit, and you're gonna place it in between the plastic. And you're gonna gently press on your tortilla maker until you get something like this, and you're gonna kind of flip it on the other side and do the same thing. And you're gonna be left with something like this that should be super easy to take off from the plastic. And now we're just going to place this in our pot. And you really don't want to touch it for a couple of minutes, about, I would say 2 to 3 minutes on each side, but definitely don't touch it before the 3 minutes have gone by, because you don't want it to stick to your pan. Now let's try to make one without the tortilla maker and only using the pot that I have with a flat surface. So again, we're going to grab our dough, about this much, and we're gonna make a little bowl, and we're gonna be left with this. We're gonna place it in between the plastic. And now we're going to use our pot and lightly press. You're gonna notice that the tortilla is a little thicker, so you just wanna flip it and then press again. You may have to use a little bit more force with using a flat surface like this, just because the tortilla maker is like metal, and so it does a lot of the work for you, but the result will be the same. So this is what we're left with. Again, should be super simple to like have the plastic slide off from the tortilla or the dough. And this is what we're left with. So we want to make sure we place it in our pan. And now we're going to flip the first tortilla that we placed in the pot, or in the pan, I mean, using something like this and your hand. Just make sure you don't get burned. So now that it's been about 3 to 4 minutes that we've been letting these tortillas cook on each side, we're going to want to remove them from the pan. Careful, don't burn yourself. And put them kind of in a plate. Let's let them cool off for, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute. And then we're going to use our hands to pinch the edge of the tortilla to make kind of like a barrier, so that when we add all the toppings, they don't just spill all over the place. So let's just wait for it to cool off a little bit. All you want to do is really pinch the edge of the tortilla, and it will look something like this compared to this. We're going to do the same with this one. Alright, so now that we have created that little barrier, we're going to add our topping. So this is the fun part. We're going to have some of our hot sauce, and we're just going to put it in here, as much as you would like. We're going to grab our cheese. Place it in there. Our onion. And our sour cream. Alright, so now that that's done, we're gonna bring the plate back next to the pan, and we're going to, whether you want to use this, I think it's better to use something so you don't risk the chance of getting burned. You're gonna put the Memelita back in the pan, and you're gonna let it stay in there until you see the cheese melt. Alright, and after about 3 to 4 minutes of leaving everything in the pan to like melt, this is the final result. It looks so delicious, and I've already let it kind of cool off for like a minute, so I'm gonna give it a bite and see how it tastes. It's so delicious. And super easy to make. Again, it won't take you more than 30 minutes to prep and cook, and it's such a nice treat to have. Right now that we're at home, it's fun to like experiment creating new recipes, and I think this is such an easy one that you should definitely try. If you do end up trying it, let me know how it turns out by sending me pictures and just commenting, but definitely give it a try. It's totally worth it. and super easy. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and also make sure you turn on your notifications so that you know when I post my next video and you don't miss out. So again, thank you so much for joining me today, and until the next one, I'll see you later. Bye.